Hello, horror fans. It's me, Cassandra,
Mary.
and we are without Kylie tonight, but we are going to be talking to Just Hauntr, who is a content creator in the horror genre as well as a gamer. And we are super excited to peel back the curtain on what makes the social media journey for us horror creators. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Without well, without any further ado, I just said that twice.
No more dues.
No more dues, no more dues. But let's just cue the music. Let's cue it. Hello, horror fans. We are back and we are joined by Just Hauntr. How are you?
Doing well. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. So, like we said in our intro, we are kind of peeling back the curtain on our side of horror, which is more the horror content creation side. And this is kind of a surreal experience for me because before Mary was on the podcast, I had actually been following you for a while. You were one of the first people that showed up when I started doing stuff on Horror Talk and had been following for a while.
You actually introduced me to Horror Talk because I didn't know there was horror like content creators. Like, I was like, what is this? I was like, this is too freaking cool. And then I was like, oh, there's a whole world of this.
It's kind of awesome. Like when I kind of started doing it, I just, back when TikTok was like really, really fun. I just would take audios and just like, okay, how can I make this like as sadistic and kind of like scary as not scary, but little story as possible. And it was a lot of fun. And I guess other people liked it too. So.
I mean, you kind of became everyone's like favorite neighborly serial killer. Like, that neighbor that lives by you that you might think is a serial killer, but you would like, he might have a point. So we're just going to let him slide. So that
Our
really
fans of morally gray characters here.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But yeah, I love the different versions of characters that you do. I think they're just so original. And it's really crazy to think how Horror Talk has grown, even since, me finding your content and then there are other creators and how that's kind of taken over. But this is a very surreal moment for all of us for you to be on here. So thank you. But we are going to have fun and we're going to do some icebreakers. So these are just some questions. Some of them, they're not crazy off the wall, but they're, not maybe your expected horror questions. The first one is, if you were cast in a horror movie, what kind of horror movie would it be?
Like my personal favorite, or what would you think I would actually get cast in?
Your personal favorite that you would love to get cast in?
Oh, a haunted house movie by far. So The Changeling is one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
Yeah, we're clapping over here.
We did a big episode on it, and it's very underrated.
Yes. Oh, completely. And I have the edition that they came out with a while ago. That's like the super amazing edition. I think it's from Severin Films, but that has like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. Those people are just artists. Like the way that they like did that film, like shooting that shot, especially at the end with the fire, like that's like a reverse fire trick. I would be so scared to be doing that.
Dude, I love that movie because it's the perfect like true crime ghost scary horror movie. And I love anything that takes place in a haunted house or haunted asylums. I'm all for.
Yeah.
Obviously I would love to be in a slasher movie because I mean I'd like to get killed. It'd be fun.
If you could pick any way that you could get killed in a horror movie, what would it be?
Probably, you know what? One of my favorites, and a lot of people don't talk about this movie enough as being a good remake, the Friday the 13th remake.
Yes.
There's a scene where the girl's getting hung in the sleeping bag underneath
yes.
fire. Something like that. Be me hanging upside down in some kind of thing, and it has to be good.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree
I'm
with
just
you.
laughing because he's doing all the points we constantly make.
Yeah. We actually
we just went on a whole thing about that.
Yeah, we just went on a live stream recently, and we were talking about horror hot topics. That's why Mary was smiling. And one of the ones that we brought up, so I brought up two, but one of the main ones that I brought up is that Friday the 13th has not had a lot of consistent good entries, and that the most recent, which was the remake, was probably the best entry that we had with Jason, because it gave him more of a backstory.
His origin story was amazing in it.
Yeah.
And the killing was beautiful.
And you bought into the characters, like the brother and sister, and the brother trying to find his sister. Like that's a big part of horror, is buying into those characters, because once they get killed, you're gutted by their death, and you're kind of still searching for it. So that was just funny that you brought that up. But I completely agree. That would be a way to go, right?
Totally.
So what is your childhood favorite scary movie, and has that changed?
So the very first horror movie I ever saw growing up, or at least that I remember seeing, was New Nightmare.
Same.
Because I'm a 90s baby.
Yeah.
So like I was right around that time when Scream and New Nightmare and stuff were around. So I love New Nightmare. It's always, for me, it's probably my second favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film out of all of them. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about it, but I mean, I still love it. I thought it added a lot more cool stuff to Freddy, where I feel like the Nightmare on Elm Street series isn't, at least for me, that's one of the weaker franchises, in my opinion. I hope it's probably a hot take, and a lot of people that could get mad at me for it. But yeah, it's that one. I don't think it's changed. I still love it. It's a good movie.
I don't feel like that's a hot take. I mean, there are going to be people that are always going to be weird about certain movies, but and I think Nightmare on Elm Street is nostalgic for a lot of us. That is one of the maybe more consistent, but New Nightmare is, because the whole like premise behind that is the fact that Wes Craven wanted to kind of reclaim Freddy. Freddy had no longer become scary because of all the titles, and he was like, how do I make Freddy scary? And it's taking it into the real world and making Freddy real. And I think that's like the most terrifying thing. That was actually my first childhood scare experience as well. So that's insane.
I found my people.
Yeah.
I'm tripping out right now.
So is that still like a favorite for you? Do you have a different favorite now that you're an adult, or?
See, I don't like favorite horror movie.
Yeah.
Because for me, as horror fans, I feel like our favorite scary movies change
all the time.
I always say, what day of the week is it?
Yeah, exactly. So like anytime I'm on TikTok live, that's like the most popular question. What's your favorite horror movie? And I'm like, I legit have it all scripted out now, where it's like, well, I have this. Like The Thing from John Carpenter will probably always be my favorite, because I love practical effects. The whole vibe around that movie is great. The Changeling obviously is another one. My sci-fi I love Event Horizon. It's one of my
Jesus,
favorite films. Funny enough, the hell scene, that 3-second clip of the hell scene, I had a friend of mine who saw it before it came out, where it was like a 3-minute long thing, and said it was incredible, and it was bummed that it was cut out and I never found it. And then Scream, because I just have always loved that franchise, and those are, I would say, my top 4 favorites. New Nightmare will always be like my first baby, but I definitely, those are the ones that I tend to gravitate towards.
I love that. Yeah, because I feel the same way. Like people ask me all the time, and it changes like routinely. Like it's because I remember, and as a content creator, maybe you find this, but we watch a lot of media for horror when it comes to horror. Like we've done the math and just up recently, we're upwards of like 500 horror movies just this year of like rewatching and preparing for everything we do. Cause like when we're talking about certain things and episodes and stuff, if it's even a movie that's adjacent to it, we watch it. And so we watch a lot and have to keep up with a lot because obviously horror is a big market. It takes up 22% of the film industry. So it is, you kind of are like, well, this is my favorite today, but 2 weeks from now, there is another movie that's releasing and it could be potentially my favorite for this year. So I'm a big classic fan, and it seems like you are too. So I have to ask this question to everybody. What is your favorite Universal monster?
Universal monster?
Yes.
Probably Gilman. I love me some
some Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh yeah. Love Creature from the Black
Lagoon.
We
are sympathizers.
Yeah. We are a big sympathizer for Creature from the Black Lagoon because like he, out of all of the characters, you could say he is the one that is the most, why did you come in and fuck with his space? Like you didn't get the smoke until you asked for the smoke. Okay. You came into his environment and wanted to,
awesome.
Yeah. My friend from Anaheim Pop-Ups actually gave me this for when I went to his Terrifier maze because he knew I was a big fan of Gilman. So
yeah, I have a bunch of the lounge. My birthday is coming up, so I actually got one. We were showing it last night because we did my birthday episode, but it was the TV that's like a lenicular, which is like the old school where you turn it and it turns into different images, and it's Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. And it's like it moves every time like you're walking and stuff, so you see different images, and I'm never gonna get over it. It literally is like I keep looking at it and I'm like, oh.
Happy early birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's this Thursday coming up actually, which is insane. So happy birthday, Libras out there. But what is your favorite horror TV show?
I love American Horror Story. I'm kind of real basic on that. I'm a huge fan of shows that kind of like change it up from like anthologies and movies and things like that. I love that type of stuff because it never gets old to me. And I have such a small attention span when it comes to certain, like Supernatural. I just got to season 5 and I stopped watching it just because my attention span is so like scatterbrained all over the place.
Yeah, it gets a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the earlier ones are the best anyways because they actually stuck to hunting monsters, each one. It was like the adult Scooby-Doo.
It really was. Yeah, I was about to say, when it got into the later seasons, one of the few episodes that I did watch was when they did the Scooby-Doo, like Supernatural mashup.
So cool.
Because that to me was like, okay, you have my attention. Like you're putting Scooby-Doo and Supernatural together. I will watch that. But yeah, the first ones were like it grabbed your attention. Like there were a lot of really good stories, like the Krampus episode that's kind of in there and all I love it. And it kind of reminds me of Tales from the Crypt. Like, those first couple seasons were kind of like our version of Tales from the Crypt. And then it just got kind of like Angels and Deep, which is fine. The vibes are great.
I watched it from honestly the pilot to the finale, but there were times where I was like, it's got to get better, dude.
Tales from the Crypt is another one that like I will always love because we didn't really have cable growing up, but for whatever reason we had HBO, and I. Growing up, I lived in a lot of motels and hotels and stuff like that because I moved around so much. So they had HBO, and naturally, anytime I was on, Tales from the Crypt was on. Made sure mom wasn't watching, turn it on.
I guess this is a side question for me because I'm a huge fan. What is your favorite Tales of the Crypt episode?
I cannot remember the name of the episode for the.
You don't have to. Trust me, I won't remember.
Where the brother is a like a mortician and one comes in and he kind of like switches with them.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
I love that one. I just can't remember the name of the episode. I love that one. I
I
also
don't.
love the episode where the old man is trying to like get with this beautiful woman. The one Arnold Schwarzenegger directed.
Yes.
He's trying to get with this young woman and he gives away all his money, but he ends up with the old man anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Mm-hmm.
those. It's my favorite.
Yeah, my favorite is it had Larry Drake in it, and it was the one where the mom kills the husband and it's Christmas and there's a psycho Santa that's like, yeah, is outside,
Yes.
and it's Larry Drake. That is one of, because Dr. Giggles is like one of my peak movies as well. Like Larry Drake is just so underrated in that. Like,
Yes.
iconic, like because he fully believes everything that he's doing, like with such psychopath, like you almost want to be like, you know what, he has passion, it's fine, it's okay that he just murdered somebody with a giant band-aid because he was using his skill set, like he was using what was available to him. Okay.
I just saw Dr. Giggles for the first time this year, and I was like, because one of my moderators been telling me to watch it for years, and I finally like, okay, let's watch it. And I was like, what? Where was this movie when I was growing up? It's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't watch it until when I was listening to the podcast, and Cassandra brought it up in an episode, and I was like, what the heck is Dr. Giggles? And I watched it. I was like, why have I not seen this before? This is gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am a product of the 90s. I literally, in the town that I lived in, our Blockbuster was literally, we lived off of like a busier road, and we had a Blockbuster that was maybe like half a mile down, and we would go a lot, but then when I got older, I would walk down there, and I just would find every single horror movie I could find to watch, and I just ran through them. Like, who knew that it would be such a valuable skill set later on in life for me? But at the time, I was like, this is my people. Like, this is my section. Yeah. Nobody else is watching these, but I'm going to watch them. So I watched a lot of random shit.
Do you mind if I ask you guys a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What is your most rented movie from Blockbuster?
Oh. So rented and then bought and broke several VHS tapes of it from watching it so many times. The Mummy and Dracula 2000.
Okay, respect.
And Killer Clowns was other big one, because like don't ask me why, but when I was younger, I got terrified of Killer Clowns the first time I watched it. I walked somebody home after it that lived in the neighborhood next to me. It was my friend at the time, and I thought the Killer Clowns were going to come get me. But then I watched it like 6 months later and was fine. So then after that, I was like, okay, we need to keep watching Killer Clowns. So I just kept watching it. Yeah. And my friend, Brittany, we watched Nightbreed a lot together, and I was terrified of it. And I think I just like conversion therapied myself into liking it. Like, we just kept watching it so many times. So I was like, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I think mine is the Scream franchise, because I've always been obsessed with it. And that's my comfort horror movie, is the first one. And so I did go through, first of all, okay, I didn't go to Blockbuster because we're too poor for Blockbuster, okay? So I went to the little, like, I live in Orange County, so they had this little, like mom and pop shop, and they knew me there, and so I would rent those all the time. And I also used to rent a lot of 80s slashers with like the most ridiculous titles. And but a big one was Space Invaders. Me and my dad would rent that all the time because it was so funny. And I
think it was, I love Blockbuster, but a big part for me too is when cable switched to doing like the box. Somehow in my area they got FearNet, and they did a bunch of like VOD, and that's how I found like Waxwork and Dr. Giggles and all of these other movies. Is they would release certain ones every month, and I would just lock in and watch all of them.
Do you guys remember
Continually.
Chiller? I miss
Yes.
Chiller.
Yes.
Yeah, I missed that too.
Yes.
Mine was Anaconda. So.
Ooh.
We did
yeah.
episode on that.
Guy.
Yeah. Did you know that was actually 2 animatronic snakes that they use? We're saying that because of the fact that we just did an episode on that, and that we like released the demons on that episode because we literally we did some serious research, and that those animatronic snakes actually malfunctioned. Ice Cube's son did an interview where he actually said he was on set and they literally would twitch and take out craft service tents and stuff like that, and they actually had to be put inside the animatronic snakes and they would twitch and stuff, and he's like, all I saw was rapper Ice Cube dead in the rainforest as a little kid. So but Anaconda,
that fear, a lot of times when the snake has them, is real fear because it would malfunction so much.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to listen to that episode then.
Yeah,
I mean that was that's one of I rented that movie so many times.
Oh, and Ice Cube, we've talked about before. Ice Cube doesn't get enough respect for being in the horror genre because he does that and then Ghost of Mars.
Another I think movie that I rented so many times. There was I think a while there for 3 months straight where I would rent that movie, get Meat Lovers Pizza with my friends, and we would watch that movie because I was like, you guys have to see this. It's so awesome.
Yeah, I love Ghost of Mars. What's not to love? It's Ice Cube. You got Patty Greer in it. You got early Jason Statham. It's a lot. John Carpenter. And there are so many under the radar John Carpenter bangers that you just that don't get enough respect. Because that and The Fog. The Fog doesn't get enough respect.
I was like, please say The Fog.
Yeah.
Not the remake.
No, the original, because that is terrible. I live in a near a coastal town. I live by the lake in Ohio, and the fog is constant here, especially during the fall. And I'm like, is today the day I'm gonna get grabbed up by some dead fishermen from the lake? Maybe, but
I don't know if you if you want to segue off this on. I have a funny story about the fog.
Sure, go ahead.
So, you guys know Fear Fest, AMC Fear Fest that happens every year. So, when I was in high school, what I used to do, and you guys said I could talk about whatever on here. I used to buy weed, and I can smoke it and watch Fear Fest all day. Well, the first time I ever watched The Fog was in one of those, I just was so blitzed out of my mind. And the way I remember it was it looked like the pirates were little cutouts and they were doing this. So every time I watch it now, I have that flashback of just me laughing my ass off of the pirates in the background looking like they're cardboard cutouts or whatever, looking like stupid electronics. It was a great movie. I had a good time. That and Funhouse were the 2 movies that I remember specifically watching during that time that made me laugh. But first time I ever watched it was great.
You're not alone, because the first time I saw House of a Thousand Corpses, I was at my friend's house spending the night and we were smoking weed and I was pretty high. And the part where Otis is lowering her down below and he's got the face makeup on, I was so scared, convinced he was coming for me. They had this door that went out to the main street, and I was like, he's coming, y'all. He's coming. Yeah. Mary, chill.
I mean, so I didn't really have experience, but we had some friends that we knew were not into horror movies, and I almost think that it was a personal challenge that we traumatized them. I tell this story a lot, but we had a friend in high school where she wasn't the biggest fan of horror movies, but we talked her into watching Ghost Ship. And if you watch the first couple minutes of Ghost Ship, you know what happened. She was traumatized and put herself in a bathroom, and we all got in trouble. We were by her parents, because they had to come get her. So, but no, that's hilarious. I mean, lead is legal in California, so it's fine. Yeah. You guys are good. That actually does segue into our thing, which is, what is your favorite movie snack or favorite combination to eat when you're watching a movie?
Pizza Pringles, easy.
Right Respect.
I mean, nothing wrong with I like Twix too. I'm not a big chocolate guy, but like if I'm gonna have like a movie snack, it'd be Twix. But yeah, no, I would just probably say pizza Pringles. Those are I mean, I was literally watching a movie earlier and I had it out, so
yeah.
We all know what mine is. If anyone that listens to this, it would be popcorn.
Oh yeah, Mary's worn a full popcorn suit before. Yeah, she showed up to a meeting in a full popcorn suit because it was National Popcorn Day and none of us knew. And you could literally see me dying in the corner, like, and nobody's paying attention to the fact that she just popped up in a popcorn suit. It was hilarious. Mine is I love the sweet tart ropes, the cherry punch ones. Those are like somehow I got them a couple years ago and now every time that is my favorite. I also like all of the Take Fives, like the Reese Take Fives, the regular Take Fives. I'm a Snickers girl through and through though, so that's my favorite too. But I'm also pizza and movie. That is my thing. Like I remember that vividly. Friday night growing up, if you did well, you got good grades, you could pick out a movie, you get pizza. Like sometimes you'd order, sometimes my parents would be like throwing in the Tostinos. So pizza and horror movies are like, they're it for me. It's a very religious experience for me. So at
GhouliCon snacks.
Yeah.
Because pizza for me, yeah, totally. If I'd change my answer, it'd probably be pizza and a movie because nothing better.
Yeah, when we went to GhouliCon, they have a Goodfellas pizza company down there, and they had pizza slices that were like this big, and like with a big breadstick, and so we had to like make our way back for panels, and all of us just had like pizza boxes, and it was so funny. I wish somebody would have got some content of it, but literally we're hiding behind other people, like trying to take bites of our pizza here and there. So, but yeah, pizza and movies, like that's the way to my heart. I probably eat more pizza than a Ninja Turtle at this point. Cause I mean, you can make pizza healthy too. Like you could put on some fancy smancy stuff if you want and everything. You can make it your own, but I'm a pepperoni girl through and through. So
don't you come at me with that cauliflower crust because I will fight you. I want pizza.
I mean, for some people who have gluten allergies, I understand that. But yeah, I
that's just my opinion. And if you try to sneak that in on me, no.
Yeah. For me, the ultimate combo is a horror movie and the 90s Pizza Hut with the stuffed crust, like pepperoni. That to me there's something about that that's just sacred. Truly is. So I don't know why, but Pizza Hut was like a big thing growing up. I think in the 90s, like it was just like everywhere. The last question is, what is your favorite game right now? It doesn't necessarily have to be horror, but what is your favorite game to play?
It's kind of wild. I have not been playing a lot of games lately just because normally, I mean, I used to stream on Twitch quite often, but like life has been kind of crazy right now where I haven't been able to play. But I think right now I was playing Baldur's Gate 3. That's awesome because I'm a well-rounded nerd, okay? So I love D&D too.
Respect.
Yeah. So I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate. Funny enough, one of my coworkers was really into League of Legends, and I was really into League of Legends when I was younger, and the new season of Arcane is coming out. So I've been playing a lot of League of Legends lately with my brother and my coworker. But those are the two games I play. I like indie horror games though, specifically most of the time. So
we had a brief interruption by my child. If you watch the YouTube version, the door literally just opened. It's funny that we were talking about games though, because that is one thing that my child is getting into. That has helped him get into the horror genre is Five Nights at Freddy's. And we actually watched the movie together, and it was kind of interesting to be like, you see what he's doing with that knife, Brayden? That's from Scream. That's from Scream, and you'll know. But like we went to the Exchange the other day, which is like our local like area where you could buy used games and movies and stuff. and he knew a bunch. He was like, yeah, that's Ghostface, that's Megan, that's Annabelle. Like, he knew all of these. And I was like, man, I haven't told you about any of these. So apparently I'm slacking on my education here, but like, he knew all of them. But yeah, that mom life, guys, mom life. But yeah, so those were the icebreakers. I love those answers. I'm also a well-rounded geek. Anybody who listens to the podcast, I mean, I carried a vampire encyclopedia growing up in high school. Yeah.
That girl.
Yeah, I was that girl. I loved Sleepy Hollow from Tim Burton, and I had the Tree of Death like on my notebooks and stuff. Yeah, I probably looked like a really crazy individual growing up, but you know, I was obsessed with Lord of the Rings because that's like a big early 2000s thing, right? And stuff. So I was into all of that, and I think people were like, man, that girl's going nowhere in life because she's just spending all her time. Well, look where I'm at now. So
That's
see my people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remind me of we always tease you about like because I still if you had been around my high school with that, I would be like, listen, we're friends now, okay? And I just remembered that I carried around the Johnny the Homicidal Maniac comic book because I thought I was so cool and edgy. And then when Invader Zim came out, I just remembered that.
Yeah, I loved a lot. And I loved The Crow too. That was like a very transcendent movie for me growing up. That was something that my uncle and I shared. So I had a lot of like
you have a tattoo, right?
Yes, I have a tattoo on my back of The Crow. I have It Can't Rain All the Time with crows on my back. It's funny because you will find your people in the most random places. If I'm wearing like an off the shoulder top and people can see it, they'll be like, your tattoo is from The Crow, like across rooms and stuff like that. I've had somebody come up to me before and be like, I wasn't trying to stare at your body, but you had a crow tattoo on your back. So I just wanted to know if you actually got that from The Crow. And I was like, yeah, I think, yeah. But yeah, Hot Topic. You guys remember when they had postcards? I bought a.
Remember when they were Hot Topic?
Yes. Yeah. OG Hot Topic.
My stepdaughter, she's 16, and she's like, "I want to go to Hot Topic." And we went there, and we go, "What the hell is this?" Like, I was like, "What is this place?"
Well, it's all pop culture.
I remember when it was like the Gothic, like a cathedral, and like certain people like didn't want to go in there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you were banned.
Yeah, you were banned. Like, they still have great stuff in there, but I was just like, I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah,
I kind of missed when you'd be able to go up to or walk up to a Hot Topic and people would just look at you funny.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I live in a very like religious area in Ohio, and there were people at times that actually were like in front being like, don't go in there, the devil's gonna take your soul, like stuff like that. I remember like vividly, and I'm like, I just wanted to go and buy some postcards of The Crow, like to put in my notebooks and my folders. Like,
I used to love to go there to get the samplers they had.
Oh,
they had give them the boot comps, and I'm a big metalhead and punk, so I loved going there. And then you could listen to music in there, and they always, for some reason, had Kitty playing always, and the one in Cerritos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I just remember like, I don't know, it was just a different experience growing up. Like, you knew, and people also would give you the side eye if you went into Spencer's because they're like, are you going in there for the stuff in the front or in the stuff in the back? and you're like,
you were trying to go in the back and giggle.
Yeah, your friends and you were like approaching, the back, like, oh, and then like back up. But you know what was the funniest thing? The Living Dead dolls were always in the back too. And my friend, Brittany loved the Living Dead dolls. So we would always go back and she would like buy them. So it's like the dolls would be right there. And then you have everything else right there. And so it's like, we're here just to get the big Chucky Living Dead doll. And it's like, yeah, sure. But seriously, like we were like literally that's where they would put like the bigger, like the Chucky and Tiffany dolls and like the Living Dead dolls. And now you can buy them online though. So
do they still sell those?
Yeah, they do. I actually have an Elvira one and a Crow one. So I have everything Elvira. So we share the same name. I have to. But thank you so much for doing the icebreakers and laughing through the fact that my son just came in here like a wrecking ball.
You should have played off that your room is haunted.
Yeah, somebody ghost came in randomly, opened the door.
I mean, I live in Ohio. Ohio has a lot of weird shit, if we're being honest. Like, we have a lot of haunted houses and a lot of just weird shit. So that would make sense, actually. So, yes, it was a ghost. It was not my child just running through here. But yes, so thank you for doing the icebreakers. But we are going to move on to the other questions. So obviously, you are a bigger figure on Horror Talk. Can you tell us about your journey to cultivate your following?
It's so weird to kind of talk about that just because, so it's kind of funny. I've been talking again with people from my past, like from high school and stuff like that. They're like, oh my God, you're TikTok famous. And I'm just like, dude, I don't feel like anything's different. It's just like, luckily enough, I make stuff for me and other people seem to like it. So, but it was fun. Pandemic was around. I got bored being in the house all day. And I just started making videos. I think, funny enough, my dad was on TikTok before I was, because he was like, there's this new app. And my dad's old. He's like, or older. And he was showing me this app and I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And I think my ex-girlfriend at the time was really into like going through TikTok. So I was like, all right, I'll start making videos. And I started, she would do my makeup. If I wouldn't recommend anybody to do this, but if you scroll all the way down, there's some pretty awkward videos of just me. And I'm just like, as a content creator, I feel like maybe you can resonate with this. The first things you do are always rough.
What's that quote, Cassandra?
So we, at this past GhouliCon, Ken, who is Sledgehammer House of Horror, shout out to you, Ken, but he was talking, they had a content creator panel, and that was one of the ones we weren't on, but I'm glad we weren't, because there were other people on there that we got information from. But he said, if you don't want to go back and punch yourself in the face for your first content, that's not growth. And truly,
I feel it's cringe to me. Like when I go back, I go, oh my God. Like if I ever pull up my MySpace.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're about to do 100 episodes. And obviously I've been on every episode from the beginning. And I want to go back in some of the episodes and be like, are you okay, girl? Are you good? Are you good?
Yeah.
So, I mean, not that they weren't great, but like we've started redoing some of our episodes just for that pure fact, because it's not like we didn't not love, but obviously you grow, you differ, you want people's different opinions. And so it's like, we still like that movie. It's just now we know better. So let's go back and fix it and do better with it. But yeah, I feel you, because sometimes I'm just like cringy, like, ooh, do we have to bring up those clips? Like,
yeah,
can we use something from the last year where I actually had presence of sound, mind, and body? Like, it wasn't
in gear, like equipment.
yeah. Because like in the beginning, literally, like it was truly our first episode was called In the Beginning. It literally was my friend and I on like one of those fold out card tables with a little microphone hovering over it, with like, we had things set up so the sound would like reduce, and we literally had to turn off everything. And you would actually hear in previous episodes, because I live in a duplex, the kids downstairs and different noises, and I could not filter all of that out. So that now it's like, well, I have a good microphone, I have the boom arm, I have the whole technology. But back then it was like, yeah, we didn't have that, homegirl. Like the first episode we recorded, when we stopped, my co-host actually went to the bathroom, which is like right across the hall from here. And I could hear her going I didn't expect that. And I could hear her using the restroom. And I was like, Well, yeah, we need everyone out. Everyone needs to clear the apartment. Like, we cannot be doing this. So, yeah, equipment definitely makes the difference.
You cut your teeth on that though. It's
Yeah.
like you learn, like, guerrilla kind of style, and at least for me that's how it was, where I was just like trying to figure out what I was into and what I liked, and whatever was just like, I'm gonna make a bunch of stuff that I like. And I think it just kind of hit, at least for me, when I started, because I had some fake blood that I would use, and I loved doing it. And because I'd loved making myself into a monster or somebody getting killed, and it
Heather's
kind
got
of.
right
Mary's got the
to
fake
me.
blood. Yeah,
And
Mary.
I used to use the horrible stuff you would get from Spirit that would stain your hands, and if you got it on
Yes, I
anything, you'd
know
have to
exactly
throw
what
it
you're
away.
talking about.
I'm pretty sure my ex at the time would just probably drive her nuts, because I can't tell you how many shirts I destroyed.
Oh.
But and you learn and you kind of figure out,
Mhm.
and now it's like I have some real cool special effects stuff that, like, I just started learning, and you cut your teeth on, because without that failure experiences, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have figured it out. And for whatever reason, like I said, I would make stuff for me, and other people seemed to enjoy it, and it just kind of took off.
Let me ask you a question on that front, because if you've ever watched the podcast, I am the one that come in different costumes, different makeup, and I'm not very new with it, but kind of like we did the Hell House franchise, and I came in with the makeup of the clown, and I was actually
Yeah.
really proud of it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, like the full, like she had a full white face with like the black
Mhm.
around here. It was, I mean, like, shout out to Mary, because like she recreated that clown. Have you seen Hell House?
Yes.
Okay, so you know the
'cause
clown
the
that we're
mask
talking.
is so
Mhm.
expensive.
Yeah, the mask
Yeah.
is like $100 and some. So Mary decided to make her own, but yeah, we had to pause after the initial
I
so
couldn't
she could
talk.
take it off, because she couldn't talk because the black was just like all over. But go ahead and
Mhm.
ask your question, Mary.
What do you have as advice, like, for someone that may be starting out wanting to get into that kind of realm of trying the different special effects, and not being someone who can like have access to, like, production stuff?
YouTube is huge. I will say, for me, I'm not very, very great on a lot of makeup and stuff like that. I've had to, like, kind of, especially in the past year or so, learn how to
Mhm.
redo some to do some stuff, because yeah, just, I would say YouTube is honestly the best realm to do it. And just understand this: when you start, you will not be good at it. And that's not like putting anybody down. That's just the honest truth. The more you do things, the better you're going to get. That's why anytime ever ask me, how do I make videos on TikTok? That's another big one that I get in my life. And I'm like, just start creating, because every single video, you're going to nitpick and find little things that are going to change. And finally, by the end of it, you're going to be like, okay, I can actually make something that doesn't look horrible or doesn't look like shit. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to fail, I guess, is the big thing. Just I would even say, get a YouTube video, copy it exactly how they do it, and just keep practicing and practicing and practicing until you figure out what works for you.
I love that advice, because I think
Mhm.
that that's a big thing too, is just start. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just start and create out there, because you just don't know, like, and keep going, because like it's gonna get better. Like, I started this thinking that maybe 5 people would listen to it. My grandmother might sympathy listen to this podcast. And it turned into something way more than I ever dreamed. And now having 3, soon to be about more podcasts that we're putting under Horrorcraft as an umbrella, is mind blowing to me. Um, and just being told, like, having an effect on women in horror and making a safe space for women in horror and different people to come and listen to. I never thought that. So, like, to me, I was just like, there's nobody I can talk to around here about this. only my one friend. So let's find people who also want to talk about this and do this. And now we're here. So I think that's incredible advice, and just practicing too. Cause like we all
I'm so
started.
thankful for YouTube. There's so many times I've stayed up like the night before trying to get a certain look down and trying to figure out something. And I don't know what we would do without YouTube, honestly. Like my husband uses it to fix the car. So
I was about to say I've used it for that. But Sally, thank you so much for everything that you've done for the community.
Well, thank
you.
Like
that
well, listen, that just made my whole year hearing it come from you, because you're one person that I actually like. I truly will like. I did follow you before, like we even talked about having you on, and stuff. So it's just crazy to me to hear that come out of your mouth, especially because I just never think about like the fact that we're doing that. So
we're
to
just
me,
having fun.
Yeah, to me, it's just me living the fantasy that I wanted to be that person growing up. Like I wanted to be that person seen as being cool and stuff like that. So now having people that are like, "Oh my gosh, how do you know about all this? How do you have all of this like knowledge? How do you just know all these things?" I'm like, I was alone a lot in high school, like just watching movies by myself. So apparently it you know, it paid off.
Well, you do a lot for the horror community, and you do a lot for, you're saying women in the horror community, giving people a safe space. And I want to say thank you for that. Well, a lot of people don't, give you people enough credit for that.
No, and actually that's kind of something that I want to segue into too. As a creator, also a fellow creator, I know the experiences that I've had. What are one of your favorite experiences that you've had as a horror content creator so far?
I got to work with Warner Brothers when The Conjuring 3 came out, which was awesome.
Ooh, yeah.
They, that was my first big, like, holy crap, like, you want me to do stuff for you? Yeah, let's do it. And it was a paid gig, which was even better. Then luckily enough, I was able to work with, Fearless Records, the people who have signed Ice Nine Kills. They had sent me, it was right before Welcome to Horrorwood came out, and I guess their first single was Funeral Derangements. And they asked, like, hey, would you do a video for this? And for a long time, that was my bucket list thing. I was like, I want to work with Ice Nine Kills in whatever way, because I'm a fan.
I remember this.
Yeah, so it was so cool to be able to do that. Like, I was kind of blown away. I still look back at it and I'm like, man, I wish I would have done something different, or did, create a perfectionist mindset. But then I think the most recent one that I think was awesome was I got to walk the red carpet of The Nun 2, which was an incredible experience. And to be able to see it in theaters and have such a good time with it, and have somebody have like my name. So like if you Google like Just Hauntr, The Nun 2, like my red carpet pictures show up, I was like, man, I feel famous. This is cool.
Yeah, that's
it was a little weird because I mean, I was trying to talk with the other creators, and I don't know if you know anything about LA. People in LA are just, stuck up, annoying. And I was like, man, we're stuck in this green room for like 2 hours. Nobody gonna chat with me about like, hey, what's your favorite horror movie? And they were just.
With LA is everyone's appearance. It's appearance. I want to look like I'm this. I want to, and because I used to work for a zine, a local zine, and we would go to LA a lot for a lot of shows because I would like do concert reviews and everything. And it's just some of the people there, you're just like, you're not as cool as you think you are. Like, you can talk to people. It's okay. Like, it's very plastic.
It's kind of weird that you find out in the realm that we all are in, the people that you think would act that way don't, and the people that you don't expect it from do. Because like my coolest experience, like having David Howard Thornton on here, and that was when we didn't have a lot of people. Like my coolest experience is just talking to him, and like I think it's more well known now. But at the time, I think he had just started coming out and talking about how he had been diagnosed with autism later in life. And just being able to have a conversation with him on a human level about, like, thank you for saying that. Like, thank you for talking openly about that, because I have a child who also is affected by autism. And the fact that somebody as cool as you is out there saying all these things, it shows my child that he's not alone. And just, but having like him give me that time, you don't expect that from somebody as big as like David Howard Thornton is a pretty big name in the horror community, especially with Terrifier. And I just like, to me, I was like blown away. Like, he is the nicest person, and anybody who says otherwise, we can't talk. Because I mean, I've just had so many nice interactions with him since then. And I mean, you get that, like Jamie McGuire from, he's one of our friends, and he is the nicest. He's still like, he'll message all the time, like about different things that I just like, hey, saw that you were feeling a little down. Are you okay? And stuff like that. And it just blows my mind that people like that are in the horror community and that they really do care about each other. But then you get to see the other side of it, and you're like, no.
Well, I don't feel like a lot of them were really a part of the horror community per se. It just felt like they were more influencers. I can't even tell you, like, the horror community is some of the most nicest and genuine people that I've ever. I mean, that's I'm not saying that's what, obviously my love for horror drew me to that and whatever, but just like being able to actually interact with people in the horror community, everyone is. I've had very few terrible experiences.
Yeah, same. I mean, like, some of the best people I know in my life, I actually haven't met in real life. Like, Mary and I have not actually met in person yet.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't actually been able to see each other, but Mary is also my best friend, and I literally tell her everything, her and Kylie both. Same way with a lot of the people that we like run in circles with. Like, getting to meet each other is like the highlight of being like, like, I finally get to meet you. Yay. But it's crazy how you can have these deep relationships with these people that you have things in common with, and then you can't have that with certain people in real life too. That's kind of like maybe the disconnect and the disillusion sometimes with horror.
That's like that whole LA thing we were talking about, is you get people and you think, oh, we're the fans of the same things. This is so cool. But then you realize some people are just face. They just want the look. And then you're like I remember like in high school, if someone was wearing a certain shirt, I'd freak out like over the band, and then they wouldn't really want to talk about it. And I'd be so let down, like, oh, okay.
We're just sick and sadistic people that want to find other sick and sadistic people.
We just want to find people to talk about death
I'm
and
not
murder
sorry.
with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. So what is your favorite? Well, I guess we kind of talked about this, but I guess maybe if it's not the same, what is your favorite thing about being a horror fan? Is it the community?
The community, for sure. It's just so nice to, I mean, so like in high school, I wouldn't say like I did a lot of sports. I went to all the parties, but I would always get made fun of in the circle that I would be a part of, because I was a gamer. I liked anime. I liked horror movies, comic books. You know, it was hard to kind of like not open up, but like to be like, you know, like, hey man, like I got this new Hulk comic, or like, oh, did you guys see the Dead Silence in theaters? Like, it was so awesome, and people were looking at you like it's just weird. Where it's like in the horror community, like no matter what you like, whatever you like or enjoy, like nobody's judging you for it. You know, we all have our, and real horror fans, because I know a lot of people like to gatekeep, so real horror fans can accept anybody for who they are. I always tell people, like, hey, we might have differences of opinions on movies and stuff, but if something like that, like I think somebody in my community used to say that Halloween Resurrection was his favorite Halloween. I don't agree with him, but he said he had a memory tied to that, and it's like I can respect that, you know? It's just like, and everybody else in the community didn't give him shit for it. It was just like, we were like, hey, like, we love that you have that, like, memory tied to that, you know, where like it's a non-judgment. I feel like a lot of people in the horror community, really, it's just a really good non-judgmental space for you to be yourself and to be an individual.
Yeah, we don't always agree on certain things, but we have respect for each other. And at the end of the day, it's like, okay, That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. How
Yeah,
boring would it be if we all liked the exact same things, had the exact same opinions? And I've had times where I've talked to people, we like different things in the horror community, and they've actually changed my mind on a few things. Like, okay, well, let me give that another watch because I didn't put that together.
Yeah, we do. I mean, and we've had episodes, like we did an episode talking about women in horror where we talked about Linda Hamilton, and we found out that she did this movie and it sounded like it was going to be like an octopus, like her punching an octopus or something like that, and it's called Bermuda Tentacles. And I'm just going to say, for legal purposes, please don't go watch it. If you're curious about it, go watch our review on it. But we got our friends.
We're not paying for therapy. We're not.
Yeah. I still am waiting for the invoice for therapy from Steve. But we got our friend Steve, who does Bucket of Chum, to come on and do it. And we totally expected it to be like one of those so bad it's good movies. Because I've done one with Steve before where we talked about Sharkula. And that was like really fun to do that with him. It was not that movie. And Mary and I actually watched it together, and there were so many times where I was like, "What movie is this?" Because it was not it. Like, we thought it was an octopus, and somehow it was like an alien robot thing, and Jamie Kennedy was in it, and Maya is there, and her eyebrow was like halfway up here, and it was just a lot. But like, I never thought we were going to be doing an episode where we were like, this movie just sucks. But like all of us, we were like,
tried to see the good in all of them, because at the end of the day, someone made this movie.
Yeah.
Someone had this idea. Maybe they didn't have a lot of money, but they, went for it. This was a big company making, they had plenty of money for the effects.
Yeah, it was sci-fi, I'll say it.
Named actors, and there was no way to understand what was happening.
Yeah, I've seen better movies made with less of a budget. I mean, like
I love indie horror films.
Yeah.
Let's face it, I love them.
Yeah, like our friend Gavin, he did The Scare House, and that movie was a pivot from a movie he was originally going to do. And that movie is fucking terrifying. And just the like simple things of like, it will never make me want to wear a corset ever again, because someone gets smashed to death wearing a corset. And it's grody. There's some boric acid pillow fights in there and stuff like that. Things that just make me go, well, Gavin, you are really a sick fuck. You are really.
I love those type of movies.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's a compliment.
Franchise. Like, that was indie. That really wasn't big, and who made it big was the fans.
Yeah.
And like the Hell House franchise was started out as an indie found footage film, and it blew up.
Yeah, so we really do. But I mean, like, would it be the same? It would be so boring if we all like the same movies. And the only one that I'd ever draw a line with, and I'm just going to say it because it's like, officer, it's this one, that kind of moment, is when someone really enthusiastically says that they liked a Serbian film and they really push the envelope on it. That's where I'm like, okay, sir, you gotta go. Yeah, I can't. No, I mean,
and I've found a lot of people in the horror community have that opinion.
It's just one of those. I understand films are supposed to, push boundaries, and if you watched it one time because you're following the message, because the whole message is like the Serbian government does fuck you from birth until death, and that's like supposed to be the whole exploitive message. I understand that, whatever, but like, no.
Yeah. I tend to try and dig into movies that nobody's seen, or really disturbing stuff. I think I did a video recently, because sometimes I like to mix in where I talk about movies a little bit, and it was like 3 movies you should watch if people say they aren't scared of movies. And one of them for me was Megan is Missing. Right after I saw that, I was like, I shouldn't have watched that. I was almost thinking about not even like adding it to my list, because I was like, I don't want anyone to see this. This is horrible. But if you're watching it for the first time, and there are those movies that you get like that, like I've talked about it before. I even talked about it on a panel, Martyrs,
Martyrs is a great movie,
Oh
but
my.
Martyrs is also one of those movies that I'm sorry, if you watch it more than a couple times, like Horror Chronicles is like I watch it every every other day, and I'm like,
Yeah.
good for you, girl, but I cannot watch it more than I can't. Like in your lifetime, just because it's like such a deeply psychological movie, and the premise of it, I mean, it's beautiful. The French obviously know how to do extreme horror. Same thing with like giallo movies. There are some that I watched and I respect, but is it going to be something that I consistently watch? No. I like Dead Silence. That's the kind of movie that I could put on the background, like Stay Alive. Like I like a lot of the early 2000s movie that a lot of people just didn't fuck with. So I have respect for a lot of them, but am I going to watch Martyrs more than 3 or 4 times? Probably not, because I don't need that trauma.
I've seen The Last House on the Left, the Wes Craven version from the 70s once. And it was a great movie. I will never watch it again. It traumatized me. It gives me an ick feeling, but it's a good movie. Yeah. And I'll tell people, if you want to watch it, I'm just telling you, you're not going to be okay. Yeah. So, and then they're like, oh, and then they watch it like, Mary, I understood. But you can't say it's a bad movie.
Yeah. There are a lot of movies that are like deeply unsettling that you can go in and you're saying, you know, I'm watching this, and you can respect it and love it. But then there are other that it's just like, listen, I just got to leave it right there. I watched it once, thought it was great, but I just can't move forward with this for my own health. Like, it's just, yeah. I mean, I feel like if you watch movies on the level we do, you do kind of have to like put that line there, because, you know, this can bleed into your life a lot. Like, and so you, like, we talk about it all the time. We have our palate cleansers, like our movies that kind of bring us back to reality and our things that keep us in check. And I think those are important. Like, I love movies about death and murder. I'm a big horror fan, but I also slip a Hallmark movie out in there every now and again, because sometimes I just need to recalculate my brain a little.
I had to do that with Coffee Table.
Ooh.
We're not going to ruin it for anybody.
Yeah.
The less you know about it, the better. But I had to, right after I watched that, I had to.
Yeah. Valid.
Yeah, very valid.
Yeah. I'm not one of those people that are constantly chasing the like horror, you know, Mount Rushmore, like the iceberg where you get deeper and deeper. Like, not
dude,
doing
the
it.
deeper that iceberg gets freaks me out. I'm like, I'm not going that bottom level. I just don't think I can be okay for the rest of the day.
No.
Yeah.
No, I just don't. Like, that's what deterred me from Saw for a long time, is it got lumped in with a lot of those like gore porn movies that like just seemed to like kind of get off of it. But then I had a friend and I did it actually with a watch party through Clubhouse, where I watched them all to get in preparation for oh my gosh, Spiral. And I was like, you know what? I kind of misaligned you. I see the deeper stuff in here. Okay. I get this.
Saw's very smart.
Yes.
Saw and Hostel are two different franchises that people try to compare sometimes. Hostel, I'll be honest, I just think it's murder porn. And Saw has like a psychological effect to it. It's still gnarly.
Right. Saw is kind of like, you don't get the smoke unless you're out there doing things to get the smoke. Like, John Kramer is not going to come after you if you're not being a shit human being. Like, we learned that with the most recent one. Like, you told the dude he had, like, you could cure his cancer. You had him out here believing things, and you weren't prepared for the consequences of your own actions. Like, yes,
it's the ultimate fuck around and find out.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, and that, mad respect, because honestly, I don't know if I do that much damage, but I mean, like, there's a part of us that, like, when somebody treats us like that, where we're like, I got you, I see you, you're in the ops. And that's like how we live through John Kramer. So I think that's important. But so what is a hobby of yours that people would be surprised to learn about you?
I have too many hobbies, probably. No, so I used to be a really big like card gamer.
Ooh.
So like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, stuff like that. I'm telling you, well-rounded nerd here. Star Wars. I mean, I have my lightsaber over here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I still was trying to find some people to find Commander with for a
Yeah.
while. But yeah, I used to be really big into Yu-Gi-Oh at a time where I was going to tournaments, I was placing.
I just think that's so cool.
Yeah,
like honestly, like
you gotta realize though, because I didn't realize at the time, that hobby is so expensive because every 3 months or so the sets roll out, and in the standard where like the tournaments were being held in the standard format, they would roll out, and then you would have basically your deck that you spent like $1,000 on or whatever would be obsolete at the time. So I was doing that every 3 months or so. And there was, I think, I'll get all nerdy on you for a minute, but like Dark World came out where like there's a structure deck, they pre-made decks or whatever. All you had to do was buy 3 of those, and it was like $60, and then you had a deck that was winning tournaments at the time. And I was just kind of like, you know what? I think I need to stop this. For one, I don't have the money to do this, but that's why I don't play trading card games anymore, because when I get into them, I get in hard.
Yeah, my husband was really into Magic in high school, and then he said he stopped because he wanted to get a girlfriend.
See, to me, maybe I'm just a little weird, but to me, I'm like, you know what? That makes you a little extra special. I like a person that has some good hobbies.
He told me, that's what I told him. I was like, I think it's cool because the artwork on them is just amazing. And he's just like, you would have probably been the only person who thought that. And he was like, so then he got into it again because my stepdaughter, when she was younger, she got into it. And so they have all these sets, but then it was like, we can't afford this. We can't afford to get back into this, because they were coming out, and they still do come out with new decks, new things, and we're just like, I just can't afford it. So
yeah, I'm also a well-rounded nerd. I collect Monster High dolls. Those Skulltimates collector sets that come out, you literally have to sell a fucking kidney to get those, because everybody and their mother is trying to get a set and trying to get a set to sell, because they go like, I was so hyped that they did an Elvira. I did not catch it in time. They did a like restock. I didn't catch it, and that Elvira is still like $300 and like $200 to $300 to get it, and it hurts my soul. But my son is the same way. He plays Beyblades, which are
I remember Beyblade.
Yeah. So Beyblades are back, and him and his friends play it. And the amount of Beyblades that take up space in my house right now, it's just insane. Like, I'm constantly like finding I found a Beyblade in my purse the other day when we were at like an event, and I was like,
being a parent, because you'll find the weirdest stuff in there.
Oh, weirdest things. But no, I think that's cool. Like, to me, I always thought that was fun. Like, I want somebody who has hobbies, but also like respects that I do, because I got a lot of weird ones too. I collect figurines. I have a shit ton of Elvira stuff. This whole entire room is just like, I have a ton of physical media. I need somebody that's going to respect collections, because I show up with a lot of shit. And thankfully I have somebody now that's like, this is your room. You could do whatever you want. You want to collect these things, go for it. That's your passion. I see you. But he's obsessed with cars, and he has a ton of car things. So I'm like, you have your collection there. I have mine here. We meet in the middle. That sounds good to me. So, but I think that's cool. So, if you're out there, nerdy is cool. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I told my husband. I said, you were just talking to the wrong people. You need to find your nerd core group.
Yeah. I mean, this is coming from the person that literally, they came out with the extended cuts of Lord of the Rings, and I had read the books way before the movies came out, and we would marathon them during the weekends, like at 16. And you couldn't get nerdier than that. But all of us are like, yay, an hour and a half of extra content. Let's do this.
I used to love the commentary
Oh, me too.
Like I used to watch that with all Rob Zombie's movies and everything. We love Futurama in my house, so we did that with the Futurama and everything like that. So, well,
Yeah.
my nerd thing is books.
Yes.
That's my nerd thing.
Yes.
He's constantly building me shelves.
I mean, respectfully, that's a great one though. So, and you were just talking about it, but you kind of unintentionally fell into the book world yourself.
Who, me?
Yes. Just on.
Yeah, I did.
So you have teamed up and formed a super group with our main ghoul, Tylor Paige. And you are the voice of Slasher Pass, and you also were on the cover of her vampire series.
Yeah, that was honestly really wild. That I remember checking my emails one day. This was when I was like, I don't even remember what, how many followers I had or whatever, but she just like emailed me and she's like, "Hey, would you want to be a cover model for my books?" I was like, "Sure, yeah, that would be awesome." Are you kidding me? Why would I not say yes to this?
She told me about that, and she's like, "How'd you get them on there?" Because to us, you were huge. Like, oh my gosh, you're everywhere on TikTok, and we're just people that watch your content. And then I'm like, she goes, "I just emailed him, and he said, yeah." I go, "It was that easy?" And she goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Very cool." So
yeah, I don't ever I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in any of my TikTok lives or whatever, but I try to talk with everybody as much as I can.
I actually have been one of those people that have been up in your comments asking you what your favorite horror movie is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm plus size horror Barbie. I literally I see you on a couple times, and I'm that kind of person where if I see certain people I like are on, I want to know if you are following the same wavelength that I am, the ADHD like horror genre wavelength. And so I like to get in there and ask certain questions, not weird questions, but just like, what's your favorite scary movie? Like, what movie did you watch that recently made you go, oh, that's awesome? Or is there a movie that you didn't like recently? Like, I'm that person. I probably irritate people somewhat on TikTok, but I just like to interact.
Yeah, I think I was in there once and I asked, "How do you get the blood out of the clothing?" Because I was having that problem.
If you get the stuff that stains, it's not good stuff. If you want after the podcast, just DM me. I don't tell people just because it gets. Well, I'll tell you guys because you guys are cool. You guys are my people. So
yeah.
I'll send it to you, and it's actually pretty easy to get.
Yeah, but yeah, that was the kind of thing I was asking because all these, I know you had a problem with all these people coming at you, like all these women and everything. I've seen it.
That's
kind of. I was just like, I just want to know how he did his effects.
I understand. See, that's something that I can kind of relate to you on, and I know that seems crazy, but as a content creator, I also get those. Like I'm very grateful to be in a relationship with the person that I'm with. We've been together for almost 11 years, but he knows that I get some weird shit. To the point where we actually he sees, I show him like my DMs and stuff like that, and he's like, and outside of this, I have had externships and different things. I went back to school to be a legal assistant, so I have a paralegal background, and I've had some weird shit happen. Some weird in life experiences, even just in the store. I was at a baseball game recently with my child, and my child was like, "Mom, that guy is staring at your behind." And I'm like, of course, without a beat, my significant other, who's a jokester, he was like, "Buddy, your mom gets that a lot." and he was just joking, but I mean, truly, he does. But I understand how you feel, because I do get some stuff like that as well, where it's I've had ones before.
And you don't want to see our inboxes.
Oh, we've talked about doing a live where we just pull up certain ones. I at least get 7 sugar daddy offers a week. I at least get 7 spam offers. I've had somebody like bold-faced say that they've listened to the audio version of this podcast and say that I needed to do vocal porn, like with their full chest, which was really weird to me. I was like, that's what you took out of me talking about horror movies?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's a little special.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting how, you can have these deep parasocial relationships with people on the
Yeah.
internet, but then there's a dark side to it because people feel like they own you as a commodity.
Yeah, and that's why it's kind of hard too, because like, you try and be, because I like talking to people, but like this is my kind of, I love interacting with like everyone as best as I can. Like
Right.
every comment, and maybe it's an ADHD thing, but I like try and respond back to every comment. But sometimes like people will say something and it's like, I don't want to come off as a dick but like sometimes it's like, you get like, why are you asking weird shit like that? And like I've even talked to my moderator, and I'm like, hey, if I'm ever being like a dick or whatever, just let me know, because like I'm not trying to be mean to people, but it's like I feel like sometimes I can come off that way because sometimes somebody will ask something and it'll kind of like set you in that mood, and I get the messages you get. I used to get them daily, weird shit daily, and I was like, I don't even like, I used to like, don't even open my request folder. I think I haven't opened it for like a year.
I don't blame you, because it does. It does become like kind of a cesspool, because you do want to interact. You do want to like cultivate these relationships with people. But then it's at the same time, it's like, are you paying attention to my content? Like, I've been with the same dude for like 10 plus years. This man is thumbs up on that one. But like, that man is not going anywhere. Like, I don't know why you random user 2570 think that your comment is all of a sudden going to make me want to just like jump ship on my relationship. But like,
it push your walls up to people.
Yeah, it does.
It really does.
And
It really does.
It makes you come off like you're not wanting to open and talk to people, but it's just like, hey, I had bad experiences in the past. It's hard. It makes you really question the good in people.
Yes.
Because I try and see the good in to see the good in everyone. And, you get those comments or those whatever, and it's just kind of like, even if people are genuine about certain things, it's like, what's your intention? What's, so.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it does. It does make you kind of go like, okay, this is weird. Like, we're talking, and I think for us too as women, the other side of that coin is there is a deeper side of horror that I haven't had many interactions with, but it's just like there's something that grates people the wrong way about women being in horror, especially a plus size woman and an unapologetically plus size body positive person. And they just feel like they have to ask me every question under the sun about horror. And if I don't answer one answer correctly, then I'm not a true horror fan. And it's like, bro,
Yeah,
I know more about horror than
makes me
you.
so mad.
Yeah, I don't need to validate my existence to any
Who are
fucking
you?
person.
Who are you?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't like the gatekeeping. If someone starts the gatekeeping, I'm out. Like, I try to respond to a lot of things for the podcast and my own page because I want to connect with people.
And Mary is really good about that. Mary is our social media person, and she really does a lot to go far to like connect with people and really like cultivate a community for us that is just like thinking and talking and really interacting with people. And that's fantastic. And we want to keep that, but it's those like one or two people that you're just like, seriously?
I'll block the message. I'm like, no. And then there's times where someone will say something and I'm like, are they just being curious or are they weird? And most of the times I'm like, okay, we can't do this.
Yeah.
That's not what this is about.
If you're out there and listening and you're curious, if you're curious and asking a genuine question, we will respond. But if you're just being a shitster, I'm going to be really for real. And this might make me seem like a dick, but sincerely fuck off. Like we don't have time for it. Like I'm a mom. I have a whole life outside of this, like a very complicated life. My child has special needs, has medical issues and stuff like that. So I already give a lot of myself, more so than I think a lot of people even ask me. They're like, how do you do it? And I'm like, because it's my lifeblood. Like when my child's in the hospital, that's what's keeping me going. But it is one of those things where it's just like, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me that was in high school at 16, didn't fit in, didn't have people that were talking, about these things, felt disconnected. And now I have all these people that want to actually get to know me. Those are the people that I want to be talking to.
I love that.
Yeah. So, games. Mary, do you want to ask about games?
Yes, I'm very curious about this. So, first off, what do you prefer to play on? Are you a PC person? Are you an Xbox, PlayStation? Are you just well-rounded?
Well-rounded. I like it all. Woo-hoo! I mean, I grew up with PlayStation. First console I think I ever owned was a PlayStation 1. So naturally, the Resident Evil games are just my love. I like playing on my PC though, honestly, because you can get everything on there. Like even the See, okay, I guess another weird thing about me is I like to collect retro video games.
That's very cool though.
So, and horror specifically, so it could get kind of expensive.
Oh yeah, yes. Oh yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I love having those old consoles and those old games because it just takes me back to that time where it's like, you're not supposed to have this. I'm not supposed to be playing this, but I can do that all on my PC now through like emulators and things like that. So
yeah, that's cool. That's cool to me too, because I have a Switch. I'm one of those basic people that have a Switch. And I love playing Animal Crossing with my son. That's why I got it, so we could play Animal Crossing together. That was like a big thing during the pandemic. But I've gotten some horror games, and the big one for me was House of the Dead, because I remember playing that like in bars when I was younger. Like when my parents, there was a bar that was in front of my dad's work that had like 50-cent taco, and we would go there, and they had the game with the gun, and you could literally like shoot and stuff like that. And I played that again, and I'm like, man, I really suck at this now. I used to be so good. I used to be so good. But then it's funny because we went to a game place like 6 months later, actually just a couple months ago, really. And they had an alien game that had one of those guns. And my significant other, Jim, was literally watching me as I'm doing it. He was like, Jesus Christ. He was like, you're scary good at this right now. And I was like, I don't know what it is, Jim. Apparently I just need the big experience, the big screen. But I like that you're able to like connect with a lot of those now, because I love those. Like, to me, there is a part of my soul that will always love House of the Dead, because it's just that game that, like, growing up, you would see out of the corner of your eye and you'd be like, you're not supposed to play it, but you want to get up there, you want to play with the gun, and you want to, like, shoot people.
You better watch out, Jim.
Oh, he already knows. He already knows. So, like, yeah. But no, he just thought it was funny. So, and I mean, like, I gotta hold it down for us if aliens do attack. So especially xenomorphs, like, you gotta take care of them. Totally. Double tap rule applies.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, especially with PC stuff too. I love indie horror games specifically.
Oh yeah.
So that was my next question: is can you drop some suggestions for people that want to really start getting into it?
Yes.
Yeah. So one I always recommend, especially if you're looking for indie stuff that people don't really know. There's a game called God's Basement, which
that just sounds terrifying.
Yeah, that does sound terrifying.
You, without spoiling too much, you kind of wake up in you wake up and it's the afterlife, and you're in an office setting, and someone's talking to you, and you basically have to relive this person's life. All their mistakes, it's really, I mean, the story by the end of it, we actually played it on stream because I do stream on Twitch too. And everybody in my community was like, holy shit, what the fuck was that ending? It was so, like, it was really good. And like, there was some really real tense moments. Another one is called Martha is Dead. That one is still to this day probably the most disturbing horror game that I've ever played, because whenever somebody recommends like what's the scariest or movie or whatever, I always go to the most disturbing, because at least like someone will be like, oh, like someone will get something out of it. And that one's really, really great. It'll make you think. It's very not safe for work, but they show it through the lens of puppets.
Oh,
so
that's even scarier.
Yeah, that's even more
like
terrifying.
it'll talk about really, really dark subject matter, but they use these marionettes at near the end to kind of talk about the story. And one that actually just came out this year was called The Cursed Tape. It was really really solid. I liked, there were some good jump scares in it.
I saw you playing that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was fun. It was kind of a trippy game to play.
Yeah, I wasn't on there for long, but I did see like that you were playing on there. I think that's great, because I don't think horror gaming gets talked about enough. What was a horror game that stands out for you growing up? Because for me, like Silent Hill, House of the Dead,
mine was Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. That was
out of me.
And let's be honest, okay, this is a spicy take, but the first Resident Evil movie with Mila Jovovich, let's face it, that was a good movie. Okay, that was a great movie. And some of those movies after aren't exactly like sticking to IP, right? But they are a good time still. I'm not saying that they're.
It was also a time period, when those were dropping.
Yeah, and that was like the first. Because let's be honest, before that, when were you really seeing movies like that? Like that was kind of when, after Blade and after really like this renaissance of mixing horror with action and different things like that. So I'm not saying that they're not flawed. I am one that gives everything a try. So I do like those movies. There's just something about them that just like are endearing to me. I don't think that they're like the greatest representation of Resident Evil ever, but I think they're great. Silent Hill, the movie, for me, the first one, that was probably the best, like for me, top tier that I've seen. Like I'm so glad that they're coming out with a new one.
It's very creepy. It is so much fun. I never played it myself because I could not. I'm not good with certain controls. I'll be honest. I cannot play with the Xbox because my husband and my stepdaughter are really into Call of Duty, and I am just shooting up and looking up. So, but I would watch my friends play Silent Hill, and I was like, I'm watching a horror movie.
Yeah, yeah, you do get that way because Jim would play Dead Rising. We had like a Wii that was given to us, and we found a copy of Dead Rising. And this was a couple of years ago when we would have to like take turns when Brayden wasn't sleeping at night and stuff. And there would come times where we were up at like 12 o'clock at night and he'd be playing it. And that is, I mean, I'm a big Dawn of the Dead fan, with, the whole mall vibe and everything like that, and everything being like horror and spooky. And so that to me was fun. So, but I get it because I was like, I'm just going to watch you. I can't do this. But now I actually want to play. Yeah. So those are great recommendations.
And we'll drop them in the description. I'll look them up and I'll find where the creators too. Because we want to support indie creators when it comes to that too. Because so much goes into just one scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then two more if I can plug.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Suffer the Night is great. That's another really, really good one. And what was the other one? Oh my god, I'm blanking on it right now. Well, Slender the Arrival is always a really good one too.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm not really into the whole Slender Man thing, but playing that game was awesome.
Yeah, I think those are great recommendations and I appreciate it. I understand. I have ADHD and I'm like, I have to, the list, like I have to get my list out. And when I go back, I'm like, damn it, I should have added more. So ADHD problems, we are fueled by those here on the podcast.
Yeah, I actually have a list just in my phone of movies I hear someone talk about and I need to look up. So I get it.
Anytime you want to ask about it, I got you.
Yeah, but we'll go ahead and wrap things up. We're gonna actually segue and do a segment with you that has become our new favorite segment of the podcast, one that Mary brought on. And if you have something to add to that, you are more than welcome. But we are going to talk about our favorite thing in horror this week. So this week,
so basically, it's like something you saw, something you heard. It doesn't even have to be new. Just something that this week you were like, "This is freaking cool. I want to tell people."
I got some. Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, the two that I would bring up, well, first of all, this is a gentle reminder. We are filming this on Saturday, September 21st. Tomorrow is the season 3 premiere of From. And if you have not seen From, it is absolutely fucking terrifying. It is, if you want a good TV show to watch, horror TV show, this is fucking gnarly. And it is just insane. Have you
Where
ever it's From. Have you ever seen it?
No, where can you watch it? Is it on TV?
It's on MGM Plus.
Okay.
I think you can do like honestly, you could probably do like a free trial for like, I think they have one for like 30 days or something like that, and you can literally like binge it. Yeah, that's what she. But what it is, to explain it to you, is it is a show by the people who did Lost, where there are people, you don't know if they're stuck in a time loop, you don't know what's going on, but they are stuck in this plane in this town, and at night these creatures come out to want to kill them, and they have to live by these certain rules, and they're trying to all get out, and the mystery unravels deeper and deeper and deeper. And these characters are, the monsters are fucking terrifying. Our friend Jamie is one of the monsters. He actually became like a lead because his smile, his regular smile, is so fucking terrifying in the background that they made a whole arc for him. But this is gnarly. Like these kills, the scenes, it's just top tier, and it keeps getting worse. And we're scared at this point that a lot of people that we love in the show, they're gonna die. Yeah. So it just keeps unraveling, but we love it. We're here for the trauma. We're just clutching each other like, okay, we're going to get through this. So we're excited though, because we all watched Interview with a Vampire together, and Interview with a Vampire ended, and that's not coming back for a while. So we at least get the consolation prize of watching season 3 of From. We might be sobbing in a corner by the end of it, but we're all here for it. So the other thing is, if you're a Pedro Pascal fan, I watched Blood-Sucking Bastards, which is a horror comedy.
That just sounds awesome from the title.
So what it is it's this guy who, very corporate type person. He's surrounded by his friends who are slackers, and he is technically the acting sales manager, and he is gunning for the job. And the job actually gets given to his college rival, somebody that he actually like narked on them and they got kicked out. Well, things start changing in the office, and what it is vampires are taking over, and they are replacing everybody with vampires. And it's a very good entendre about corporate America, and just a funny movie. But Pedro Pascal does pop up in it, and I watched it before, but it popped up on Pluto, and it's on Tubi as well. We love Tubi and Pluto. But I love it. And if you're looking for a good vampire movie, obviously I am immersed in that world right now because we're doing Midnight Bite. So I'm always looking for different vampire movies. So if you haven't watched it, check it out. It is on Tubi, and it's funny. It's ridiculous. It's like the Super Troopers of the horror genre, pretty much. So, Mary, what about you?
Okay. So I was deciding on which thing to pick.
Oh,
But pretty much I did a rewatch of the original Exorcist, and then I did a watch of The Exorcist Beginning, and that's the new one. That's the name, right? Believer. No, it's Believer. Sorry.
Believer.
It's B something. And what's interesting about the original is it takes a while to really get into it.
Yeah.
It takes like really, it's most of the movie is a build up, and then you get to the scenes. And I respect it because of what it did for the time period. Kind of like I respect Blair Witch because of what it did for the time period. But man, the new one, I just really like it. I really like the fear it puts in, and then it's not just showing this demon; it's showing like these parents and how they're just turning on each other. And I'm not going to spoil it, but one of them makes a decision that affects everybody, and it makes me kind of want to go through all the movies. I never realized there were so many Exorcist movies.
There's a lot.
And, I heard, and I also want to read the books.
Yes.
So that's something for me. I highly suggest anyone, if you have a newer movie that's a remake, go back and watch the original and compare them, because that is such a fun ride.
It really is, because we just did that. We did House of Wax, the Vincent Price version, and then we did the 2000s version, and both of them are so good in their own right. And I think that that's a good thing to do, because you can love the original and still have respect for another version of it. I feel like we get caught up in that sometimes as horror personalities and stuff like that, that we hold these movies sacred, and that's fine. But sometimes, like, it's okay to have this version that's off to the side here and then have this other version. I think that the time that we can get mad about that is like when it's a direct rip off of the same movie, like how they do with foreign films, like especially in the early 2000s, where it was like, the foreign version that's amazing, and then it's literally a shot for shot recreation, but it's the English version. I think that's like, yeah, it's not as good. Like Wreck is phenomenal, but then you get Quarantine, and Quarantine's okay, but compared to Wreck, the original, that's not as great. So I love that, and I love that advice. What about you, Westin?
Have you heard of The Substance?
I've heard of it, yes.
So it's been blowing up on a lot of my horror talk friends were talking about it. And I got to see it last night, because last night I saw that and Never Let Go, just because I wanted to watch both of them.
I really want to see Never Let Go.
The Substance is incredible. The best horror movie I've seen this year by far.
I love to hear that. That makes me very excited.
I went into it being like not being super excited about it, but by the time the practical effects were insane, like really, really, really good. The performances were awesome. There were certain moments in the movie that I actually got a little bit queasy at, and other people were legitimately walking out of the theater, because I was right at the exit. People were walking out of the theater because it was just a lot of gore near the end. Like, had a real crazy scene. It's really good. I'll just say that. Just to try and teeter expectations if anybody thinks it's gonna like completely blow. If you like body horror, it's up there.
Oh yeah,
okay. I absolutely loved it. They made Demi Moore look. Demi Moore is beautiful. They made her look just completely different, and there were some funny moments too. It was awesome. I loved it. It was the best movie going experience I've had this year.
That's very incredible. Cool. I'm gonna have to check that out now, because it's been on my radar. But and I agree, Mary. I do also want to see Never Let Go, because I've heard mixed things about it. But I feel like Halle Berry kind of does come in the horror genre every now and again and really just kind of knock it out of the park. I mean, Gothica.
I'm about to say, can we talk about Gothica? I will never get tired of that movie.
Yeah, I mean, and she does like subtle, like different ones. That Moonfall movie that she did with Patrick Wilson, you know, Kylie and I watched that before GhoulieCon. Well, Kylie just kind of woke up and saw parts of it, but like that concept is kind of terrifying. And she was probably the better part of that movie, her and Patrick Wilson. So I think that's great. But the substance I have, especially Demi Moore in horror, like
it
come
was
on.
really good. Like I went into it not being very excited about it, and like when it first kind of kicks off, it was just kind of like it's very artsy and kind of like, you know, loud. You know how certain movies are very like sensory overload kind of. Yeah, it kind of starts off like that, and then it ramps up. Like some of the practical effects and scenes that they shot in there, it's top tier. If you're gonna have to watch it, you're gonna have to let me know what you think, because
I'm gonna we're gonna watch it most definitely. So to wrap everything up, let's end this on a note. If there is one movie that you could leave our audience with that you would recommend them to watch, what would it be?
Session 9. I mean, I'm sure a lot of them have seen.
Yes.
One of us.
Yes, one of us.
The ending to that movie where he says, the ending when they're playing that tape.
Oh, that's
creepy.
It's fucked.
Yeah.
That is the definition of like, I mean, that movie just unravels in such intense ways.
And it sticks with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does.
I just love the scene where he's like, "Where do you live, Simon?" He's like, "I live in the weak and the wounded." And it's like, oh, dude. So you don't know what's what, and it leaves you so open-ended. Oh, it's great.
I'm a big fan of horror movies too that don't have like a happy ending.
No, yeah.
Because I love that where you're kind of like, because it affects you, not in like a terrible way, but you're like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah, I like that about the horror genre, that things never, you don't have to end on a good moment. You don't have to end on a happy moment. You don't have to end. It could just end like you literally being like, what the fuck? And it's still a good movie. So I'm saying this as somebody that actually in college wrote a paper about this. I did The Purge election year versus Titanic, and how horror movies are more realistic.
Very different movies.
Yeah, but it was more or less the fact of like, it was Purge Anarchy, sorry, and how horror movies are more realistic when it comes to life because everything is not roses. And Titanic's great, but sometimes Titanic does glamorize the fact that a whole fucking ship capsized. Like, great love story, but like people died, man. Like, and let's be honest, we all have not forgiven Rose for leaving Jack to die. There was definitely room on there for both of them. Like they could have made it out. But horror movies are one of those where it's just like you can leave people shell shocked. You can leave people just numb, and it makes it a good movie. And that's how life is sometimes. Like Longlegs. I watched Longlegs a while ago, and that was a movie that it's not necessarily gory, but it sticks with you because it's very like undertoned of very different themes.
It's the whole atmosphere of the movie. I was just thinking about that. So I was explaining it to someone, and I was like, it's not really like scary, but it is.
Yeah, it's very more like based in reality. It's the characters are people that we kind of intimately know in a way because we've seen this before and stuff. It's kind of like with Silence of the Lambs too. Like we understand those characters and those motivations because of the fact that like Buffalo Bill and Hannibal Lecter were based off real life serial killers, and people are like that. So I think that's great. So I love that Session 9 is such a great pick. Like that literally just tickled my brain that you brought that up, because I love that as well. I think that's highly underrated, and needs to get more respect because that's a fucking terror. Like you want to talk haunted asylums and stuff, like that movie is fucking terrifying.
I love being haunted asylum.
Oh, if I rolled up to that building, I would be like, Absolutely not. Like, no, like, no, sir. No, we cannot do this. I mean, mad respect to I watch a lot of abandoned building videos and theme parks and stuff, and those people are awesome, but I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it for me. I respect you doing it, but I can't. I can't. It's just too creepy for me. So I would even get freaked out in an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese. Like, let's be honest. Like,
Well, that's terrifying.
it really is. Like, let's be honest. If you weren't traumatized at some point on those Chuck E. Cheese animatronics, and like later in life when they would like glitch and stuff like that, yeah. I mean, that's a unique experience in life that especially 90s kids can say, because that was like prominent in our like growing up. And then I remember my sister like wanting to go to Chuck E. Cheese is a lot different now because my son's gone and they've like gotten rid of the animatronics, and it's like it's more like Dave and Buster's, honestly. But the back in the day, you got in there and the band's playing and they're all like, and there are some times where the music wasn't matching and they're all like, halfway like stopping and stuff. And you're like, oh, this is going to stick with me. This is going to stick with me. So, well, thank you so much for coming on, Westin. This has been fantastic. Like, you definitely are one of us. So we appreciate it. We're going to put down below everywhere you can find Westin and all the things that he does. Go join him on Twitch and definitely jump into his lives, asks him some unique horror questions. But until next time, it's me, Cassandra, and
Mary.
And we are saying bye and stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.